Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru. This is Sri Hari Radha Devi Dasi from Fairfax, Virginia. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sri Hari Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and Kasturi Harini Devi Dasi from Malaysia.
Hare Krishna, Kasturi Harini Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Radharani Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Preeti Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna. Mataji, shall we start the recording?
Hare
I think so.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Radharani Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Padmasaki Devidasi from Florida.
Hare Krishna, Padmasaki Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Vrajabhakti Devidasi from Columbus, Ohio.
Hare Krishna, Vrajabhakti Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Assemble Devotee. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranams to you and all the assembled devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Guru Maharaj. This is Lalitangi Radha Devidasi.
Hare Krishna, Lalitangi Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radharani Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shama Gauri Devi Dasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanyavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. This is Neil Madhav Das from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Neelamadav Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Kirti Dasandri Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Kirti Dasundari Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Sita Priti Devdasi from Pune.
Hare Krishna, Sarita Priti Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Revati from Atlanta, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Revati Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radharani Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. My name is Niharika from Omaha.
Hare Krishna, Niharika Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and all the assembled devotees. This is Dinabandhu Guru Das and Alita Devi Dasi from Sandy Ridge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dinabandhu Prabhuji and Lalita Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Prabhuji and Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji.
We can start recording.
Yes, Mataji. Welcome to the Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Nityanand Prabhuji to enlighten us on the topic Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 5, Canto 5, chapter 1, text 10. Before handovering to the Prabhuji, I would like to hand over the call to Tiffany Matati to give the brief introduction about Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. His Grace Nityanand Das Adhikari is a senior disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami. It is very hard to give an introduction about Prabhuji in a nutshell. Nityanand Prabhuji is the temple president of the Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji Temple in Dallas. He has served in many different roles as a GBC member for more than a decade. He serves as the chairperson for the North American GBC executive team, which oversees all ISKCON temples across North America. He also serves as the GBC of 5 states in the USA. Under his strong leadership, the Dallas Temple is flourishing by leaps and bounds. His Guru Maharaj asked him to serve the community by taking the role of temple president. Since then, Nityanand Prabhu has introduced different ways of making the community stronger. He comes from a strong political family from Fiji, which is definitely seen in his leading the community to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's mission. Under his guidance, the Kirtan 50, which is the New Year's celebration at the Dallas Temple, rose to a totally different level. As a GBC member, Prabhuji travels a lot, and so does his preaching. His classes are an unlimited source of motivation, and he inspires each and every community member by his knowledge of Shastra and his simple yet thought-provoking classes. He is the perfect temple president who trusts his community and encourages new ways of preaching, be it at the UTD campus or Sankirtan parties. Nityanand Prabhu, along with his wife Manjulali Mataji, are serving the Dallas community beyond their capacity. They are a perfect example of how one can follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Dandavat Pranam to their service. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Tiffany Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to Guru. Thank you very much for giving your very valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening us on this topic, Srimad Bhagavatam. Now I would like to hand over the call to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled Vaishnavas. I'd like to make a correction. I'm no longer the chairman of the GBC in America. That is Mother Paharna, who's doing that wonderful service now. But I continue to serve in North America. And now I look after 7 states, because I don't look after the chairmanship. I was given a few extra states to look after. Thank you so very much. I think all that was spoken about me is actually more than what is reality. I am actually a very humble servant. I'm a very insignificant, not so humble, but very insignificant servant. And I hope to serve you all. I'm very honored that you invited me to speak today. And I'm very honored to hear from you as well, and to share my realizations on this subject that we'll be speaking about today, and of course about the disappearance festival of Srila Jagadish Pandit Ki Jai. So we'll start with the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I start with the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 10. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana Ki Jai. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swam Rup Kadamajam Dadati Svapadantikam Tesham Satata Juktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Vyantite Vancha Kalpaturubhescha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Namo Namaha Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pisthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Guru Parampara Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All right, so this verse starts with a long sentence, which reads, Bhagavan api bharata tad upanitahnaha shukta vakanati taram udita guna gunavatara sujayaha priyavatar adipurishas tan sadaya hasavaloka iti hovacha. In the synonyms it says, Bhagavan, Lord Brahma, api, moreover, Bharata, O King Parikshit, tat, by them, Upanita, brought forward, Arahana, worshipable paraphernalia, Shukta, according to Vedic etiquette, Vakena, by language, Atitara, highly, Udita, praised, Gunagana, qualities, Avatar, because of the descent, Sujayaha, whose glories, Priyavratam, unto Priyavrata, Adipurushaha, the original person, Tam, unto him, Sadaya, with compassion, Hasa, smiling, Avalokaha, whose looking, iti, thus, ha, certainly, uvacha. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear King Parikshit, because Lord Brahma had finally descended from Satyaloka to Bhuloka, Narada Muni, Prince Priyavrata, and Swayambhuvamanam came forward to offer him objects of worship and to praise him in highly qualified language, according to Vedic etiquette. At that time, Lord Brahma, the original person of this universe, felt compassion for Priyavrata and, looking upon him with a smiling face, spoke him as follows. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. That Lord Brahma descended from Satyaloka to see Priyavrata indicates that the matter was very serious. Narada Muni had come to advise Priyavrata about the value of spiritual life, knowledge, renunciation, and bhakti. And Lord Brahma knew that Narada's instructions were very impressive. Therefore, unless Lord Brahma personally went to Gandhamadana hill to request Priyavrata, Lord Brahma knew that Prince Priyavrata would not accept his father's order. Brahma's purpose was to break Priyavrata's determination. Therefore, Brahma first looked upon Priyavrata with compassion. His smile and compassionate features also indicated that although Brahma would request Priyavrata to accept household life, Priyavrata would not be out of touch with devotional service. By the blessings of a Vaishnava, everything is possible. This is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as Kripa Siddhi, or perfection attained simply by the blessings of a superior person. One usually becomes liberated and perfect by executing regulative principles set down in the Shastras. Nonetheless, many persons have achieved perfection simply by the blessings of a spiritual master or superior. Priyavrata was the grandson of Lord Brahma, and as joking competition sometimes takes place between grandson and grandfather, in this case also, Priyavrata was determined to remain in meditation, whereas Brahma was determined that he ruled the universe. Thus, Lord Brahma's affectionate smile and glance meant, open quotes, my dear Priyavrata, you have decided not to accept household life, but I have decided to convince you that you must accept it, close quotes. Actually, Brahma had come to praise Priyavrata for his high standard of renunciation, austerity, penance, and devotion, so that he would not be deviated from devotional service, even though he would accept household life. In this verse, one important word is Suktavakena by Vedic hymns. In the Vedas, there is the following prayer to Lord Brahma, Hiranyagarbha Samavartatagre Bhutasya Jataha Patir Eka Asit. Brahma was received with the appropriate Vedic hymns, and because he was welcomed according to the Vedic etiquette, he was very pleased. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Nityanand. Hare Krishna. So today's verse actually ties in with the appearance of Srila Jagadish Pandit very nicely, actually. I'll speak about that a little later, but just to share some realizations about today's verse. The verse starts with a very amazing statement, and that was that actually Lord Brahma finally descended from Satyaloka to Bhuloka. So, of course, this was at a time when the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, great personalities like that, who are amazing devotees. They're just very, very powerful devotees of Krishna. Lord Brahma, as we see from the Srimad Bhagavatam, at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can see how he was the first person to inhabit the material world and appeared from the navel, from a lotus flower that sprouted from the navel of the Lord himself. Of course, we say the Lord himself because the Lord expanded as Vishnu, and it's none other than Krishna himself. Krishna himself does not leave Vrindavan, as we know, but through the agency of Lord Balaram, he does appear in other places for the purposes of reclaiming those souls who actually leave Vrindavan. And, I'm not going to go into the reasons they leave and the great philosophy about how that happens. Suffice to say that Lord Krishna loves each and every living entity so very much that he follows the living entities. Just like we are followers of Krishna, Krishna follows each living entity, no matter where that living entity goes, whether it is to other parts of the spiritual world, the Vaikunthas, or outside of Vrindavan itself to places like Mathura and Dwarka and Vaikuntha Goloka, like that, different places like that, right there in his own planetary system. Or whether they are in separation in Shvetadvipa, which is at the center of the great lotus wall of Golok Vrindavan, or outside to the other planetary systems in Goloka, in the spiritual world called the Vaikunthas, or comes to the material world, or Kailasha, which actually is a little above where Lord Shiva, who is partly Vishnu Tattva and partly Jiva Tattva, he has his own Tattva called Shiva Tattva, because he is none other than Lord Krishna, whose halo touches touches Maya, and as a result, as milk turns into yogurt, Lord Shiva is actually a transformation like that. And at the same time, he actually inhabits the material world, and for the purposes of a number of things, being a spiritual master, as we know, one of the lines, the four major Vaishnava Sampradayas comes from Lord Shiva. And of course, he also looks after the mode of ignorance, which is a very difficult mode to look after, because in that mode, the personalities who inhabit that mode are really very terrible personalities, they're very difficult personalities to deal with. But we can see Lord Shiva's great compassion in looking after the most fallen, who are in the most fallen category of the material world, in the mode of ignorance, sometimes in the mode of pure ignorance, almost like that. Well, everybody in mixed modes, but these characters are real difficult characters. So, but even at that time, when it came to coming to Bhuloka, which is the middle planetary systems, these personalities would rarely come. And especially Lord Brahma, he would never come unless something very important was happening. And in this case, as we hear from the story of Prince Priyavrata, he was born to a very, very powerful personality, Swayambhuva Manu. And so at a particular point, Swayambhuva Manu was the great emperor. He was actually the king of kings. An emperor is, a king has a kingdom, and then all the kings serve under an emperor. So he was an emperor. And this is why it says in the purport that that King Priyavrata would actually rule over the universe like that. So Swayambhuva Manu, the father, decided that it was time for him to move on to his service, focusing on his service as one of the Manus, as a Manu. His name was Manu as well. His position was Manu. So, but then, obviously, he had to pass on the emperorship to the right person, and he decided that Priyavrata was the right person. Prince Priyavrata was the right person. But Priyavrata was a very amazing personality himself. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. And so he preferred to remain in devotion and not enter into this service, because he knew in that service he would also have to enter into married life, into the Grihastha ashram. And he didn't want to do that because the Grihastha ashram is a very difficult ashram to maintain Krishna consciousness in some ways. And in some ways, it is actually the very best ashram to maintain Krishna consciousness. It is the most difficult because in this ashram, sense gratification is actually permitted. Some degree of sense gratification is permitted. But this sense gratification is like a big wall. And actually, within that wall, one can actually find oneself practicing a lot of austerities. As we know, for those of us who are married, it is not easy for either the husband or the wife or the children or any member of the family. The reason being that each of us, each living entity, has a particular nature, swabhava, it's called, a particular nature, which is very unique to each and every one of us. And what has happened is that in the material world, we have inhabited material bodies, and our soul is actually, in a sense, trapped in that material body or engaged in that material body. Now, the material body itself is very limited, as we know, and the soul is actually a free entity. It actually has always experienced freedom because it comes from a person who is always free, who is always independent, Swarat, Krishna himself. We all emanate from Krishna, as Krishna himself says, and he also says that we are his parts and parcels and that we actually emanate from him. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha mattaha sarvam pravarti. So, but the soul wants to experience this freedom, and on the other hand, the body is limited. So what the soul does is that it tries to do things that are on a spiritual scale, an unlimited scale, but within a material body. And this process of it trying to do that is called a cheating process. You might have heard that there are 4 defects of the mind, and one is to cheat and be cheated. Like that. So this cheating, really what it means is that the soul is acting outside of its confines. And so within that struggle, which is individual to each person, now we have to associate with other persons who also have the same situation going on. And now we're supposed to cooperate and act like one family unit. So you can see where the challenge is here. It's a very difficult situation. It's actually impossible. Prabhupada, for another reason, at one time very nicely says, man is good, woman is good, but together they're bad. Especially also because of the fact that the way women think, the way men think are going to be different because they have some constitutional differences based in terms of the material nature, because they've been designed like that by Krishna for purposes of service. And we can see that in our lives that men, for example, are meant more for going out and earning money and taking care of the family, defending the family like that. Women are more for staying within the family and taking care of the children, bringing up the children and taking care of the family in a way that the family is most successful. So both play very important roles, but they're a little different. Women bring forth generations. Men do not do that. Men actually serve those generations. So things like that, these are some typical differences between men and women. So Prince Priyavrata knew all of this, and he didn't really want to get into this situation. He wanted to continue his devotion because he was very happy in his devotion. Prabhupada makes a very nice statement often, saying that if you're not happy means you're not devotee. He also says at one time that this world is full of misery, but the devotee is always very blissful. So Prince Priyavrata was experiencing this. This was his personal experience. And so he didn't want to enter into either and both of a Grihastha life and a Kshatriya life, being a emperor like that. So when his father requested him to do that, he actually refused. Now his father himself was a disciple of Narad Muni, and Prince Priyavrata himself was a disciple. Both of them loved Narad Muni a lot. Just an amazing person, Narad Muni himself. We hear his story, his tenor, and just amazing, amazing personality. Very, very, very great preacher. In fact, he's known as the all-time greatest preacher. He's known, of course, as the priest. Amongst all of the demigods, he is the preacher amongst all of the demigods like that. Of course, the chief priest is Brihaspati. Brihaspati himself takes instructions from Narada Muni. This is Narada Muni's positions. Just a totally amazing personality. And so what had happened was they had gathered at a certain location, and this topic was obviously very much central to this discussion. And now we all know Narada Muni is such a great devotee of Krishna. His only purpose is how a person can love Krishna fully with all of his or her heart and soul like that. And so Swambhu Manu was very happy. He knew that Narada Muni would convince Priyavrata. Swambhu Manu was not very happy because he was concerned that Narada Muni would convince Prince Priyavrata to continue in devotion, not to be too concerned about worldly management issues and family affairs like that. So Lord Brahma was seeing all of this happening from his vantage point in Satyaloka, which is way above planets of Bhuloka. But Lord Brahma himself is, of course, as we know, the spiritual master of Narada Muni. He is the father of Narada Muni and his spiritual master as well. Lord Brahma actually felt, he realized that Narada Muni would convince Prince Priyavrata to continue devotion, and Swambhu Manu would become discouraged. And Swambhu Manu had to move on to his next service And Lord Brahma knew all of this. This is why he's the greatest. And of course, in our line, as we know, we are called the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So our head in our Sampradaya is Lord Brahma. And he's just a very amazing personality. Again, another very amazing personality. Very, very Krishna conscious person. But even in his example, we see sometimes that things happen that might concern us or concern somebody who's in the devotional path. But these are all things that we can learn from, because in the material world, it is not possible to be purely Krishna conscious unless one is favored like that by Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada was. Srila Prabhupada made some statements that we know are way beyond amazing. Like he said once that there was no time in his life that he had forgotten Krishna. I mean, for us, it's more like we wonder what time we remembered Krishna. And Prabhupada also said there was no time in his life that he committed a sin. He was sinless. I mean, this is not possible unless one is totally favored as a like some avatar of Krishna, like Sri Prabhupada was himself. So he was a Shakti Vaishya avatar like that. So empowered personality, amazingly empowered personality. But other than that, the description is given right in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that we are like, the bulls that are plowing the land, and there's a rope that goes through the nose of the bull, and that is used by the farmer to direct the bull. And so in the same way, the three modes of nature actually control us and make us do things, even though we may not like it. Like that, although they make us do it in such a way that we feel like we like it, but in actual fact, it's not working very well for us. So Lord Brahma knew all of this, and so he decided to actually descend from Satyaloka. Finally decided, I'd have to go here, because if I don't go here, Swayambhuva Manu will not be able to continue for his next service, and King and Prince Priyavata will remain a prince, and enter into devotion, and the affairs of the material world will be disturbed. And so, therefore, he decided to come, and he's, of course, the grandfather of Priyavrata, because Prince Priyavrata's spiritual master is Narada Muni. Therefore, Narada Muni is his father, his spiritual father. And of course, his spiritual father's father is Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is the grandfather. Just like for many of us, Srila Prabhupada is our grandfather. And whoever we've taken initiation from, the disciple of Srila Prabhupada that we've taken initiation from, is our father, like that. That's actually our father. We have three families, by the way, just so you know. The family that, we're born into here in this material world. At the metaphysical level, that's the family. It's called the biological family. Then there is a spiritual family where we have our spiritual master is our father, his spiritual master is our grandfather, and then the great-grandfather, like that. In my case, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for the level that I am at, would be considered my great-grandfather, like that. For all of us, I think here, pretty much. Some of us may be Prabhupada disciples. For us, he is the grandfather, like that. So there's always a very special relationship between the grandfather and the grandchildren, like that. Grandson in this case. And so it's a very happy relationship, and sometimes a very challenging relationship, because both of them will try and outdo the other in terms of what they want done. And so Prince Priyavrata was very, very, very determined. I'm going to stay with devotion. I'm not going to do what my father asked me to do. I'm going to be happy. And Lord Brahma had different ideas, as we can see from the purport. Is described, of course, right in the translation is described that Lord Brahma felt compassion for Priyavrata, because he knew that Priyavrata was thinking in the right direction but not making the correct decision. And so he looked upon with a smiling face. Smiling face because Lord Brahma knew that Priyavrata will remain a devotee. He will not lose his devotion. In fact, he'll be able to make great strides as a devotee. And we can see after he became a king, he got married to a very nice queen, number of queens. And then how he actually had some very nice children, and these children became the future leaders of the material universe. Amazing leaders, they're described as just very great personalities. So Lord Brahma knew this. Now in this, we learn a lot in terms of our own lives. Those of us who are devotees, those of us who are grihasthas, or even if we are not, we're brahmacharis, we might be vanaprasthas, or we may be sannyasis. There's a lot to learn in this. And one thing that came out as a very strong point to me from this verse, this particular verse in purport, is that there are always challenges in this world where we find ourselves in a situation that we don't want to be in terms of our Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada very nicely describes the difference between a devotee and a person who is not in devotion is that the devotee's intention is to please Krishna, to gratify the senses of Krishna, Rishikesha, like that. And in the case of the person who's not into devotion, the purpose is to gratify his or her own senses, like that, being to sense gratification, material sense gratification, like that. So sometimes we see this play up in our lives in a way that we realize that although our intention is to please Krishna, we are at times displeasing him by doing things that are not serving his senses, that are serving our senses separately from his, like that. So here, in this verse in purport, we learn that if we stay focused on pleasing the spiritual master, in doing things that our spiritual master wants us to do, and sometimes what the spiritual master wants us to do may be something that we may feel a little unhappy about, but Srila Prabhupada says that in earlier parts in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says very clearly that we must follow the spiritual master. Now, of course, if the grand spiritual master is around and gives us another version, and that version is accepted, the spiritual master will always accept his spiritual master's version. And as we can see here, in this situation, Narada Muni totally accepted what Lord Brahma had to say with all of his heart and soul. He wasn't like feeling a little discouraged as to what I wanted him to remain in devotion, and you want him to actually, enter into this administrative life and also married life like that. Not like that. The beauty of Krishna consciousness is that it operates above the mind and intelligence. It's transcendental. Because it is transcendental, the idea is to cooperate with authority. If we cooperate with authority, then everything will work well. Brahma himself learned that lesson. As we know, for 3,000 kalpas, he could not create even an amoeba, a blade of grass. He couldn't create anything. And he was very frustrated, as a result of which he climbed down the stem. There's a huge stem. The lotus was a huge lotus. Not like the lotuses we see, they're very tiny. This lotus was so big that the stem was so big that everywhere he looked, everything looked white, because the stem was white, because the whole creation looked white to him, because the stem was so wide, like that. He's climbing down this stem, and he entered the water area, and there he heard these two very strong syllables, tapa, tapa, like that. And twice. And he looked around and he couldn't see anybody there. He's such a great devotee, he realized that nothing happens without the will of Krishna. So it must be Krishna telling me to actually do austerity. Tapa means austerity. And so he decided to do austerity. And Srila Prabhupada describes the highest austerity is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And very nicely, Srila Prabhupada explains to all of us, and our spiritual masters have understood this, and we have to understand this, that the purpose of life is to be always absorbed in Sankirtan. Sankirtan simply means that we're always trying to reach out to others so that they will also become Krishna conscious. And in the process of serving others to become more Krishna consciousness simply means to be in ecstasy. It's called Kevala Ananda Khanda. It's pure bliss. That's all it is. Krishna consciousness is pure bliss. Because it comes from personalities that are pure bliss. Radha and Krishna, Lord Gauranga and Lord Nityananda, Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, Lady Subhadra. Like all these personalities are pure bliss. And so, and that's from whom Krishna consciousness comes to us. Because one cannot be Krishna conscious unless it is given to us. And who gives it to us? Given to us by the spiritual master in the form of the Mahamantra, in the form of the holy name, Harinam Diksha, like that. And so, so we have to chant Hare Krishna nicely and constantly reach out to others, find many, many different ways to reach out to persons so that they will also become Krishna conscious. And so in the process, there are going to be a lot of impediments. And this is all part of the fun. It's all part of the fun. It's like a drama. In the drama, there's always a bad character also. And there's a fight between the hero or the heroine and the bad character like that. So this is going to happen. That's just part of the fun of it all. It's going to be like that. But we should be fully confident that Krishna is always going to support us if we remain faithful to the spiritual master's instruction. Because Atmaka Buddhi Ekeya Gurunandana. Prabhupada would say that was the verse that affected him the most. That one must always remain one-pointed. And that one-pointed means that we always are following instruction like that nicely. Chanting Hare Krishna nicely and reaching out to others so that they can also become Krishna conscious. We can serve them in so many ways. And whichever way we serve is part of Sankirtan. So being Sankirtan conscious is actually the ultimate purpose of life. And this was what Prince Priyavrata did when he actually became the emperor and he became a married person. He always continued to promote Krishna consciousness. And as a result, all of his family members were very Krishna conscious, and the world was a happy place, very happy place, because of his emperorship like that. And so this is the same for all of us. We're not emperors, we're not kings. We're very, very insignificant, most of us. And so, particularly myself. But the purpose is that if we stay in this process of always thinking of Krishna, never forgetting Krishna, always serving with a humble attitude of service, Prabhupada describes that as the secret of success, a humble attitude of service. Why attitude? Because attitude has in it a number of things. One is focus. We're always focused on the happiness of Krishna. Guru and Krishna's happiness is our focus. We're always unresentful. This is described, by the way, in chapter 3, text 31 of the Srimad Bhagavatam Gita. That we're always unresentful. Means we don't resent the fact that now I've become a devotee, I have to wake up early in the morning, I have to chant Hare Krishna, I have to follow regulated principles, I can only eat prasadam, things like that, We're never resentful. And the thing that we become resentful very easily about is interpersonal relationships. Sometimes people say and do things to us that make our minds unhappy, our intelligence unhappy, especially our false ego very unhappy. But we should not allow these persons to hijack us. These are not us. These are, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, at this very location that we're in now, these are our co-wives. The mind and the five senses of perception, actually the 6 co-wives that we have. So the wife is not the husband. So the idea is that we have to control the mind, we have to control our senses like that. And when somebody says something to us that is insulting or very hurtful, or does something to us that is very insulting, hurtful like that, we should remember that is only so that we can see if our mind and senses are under control or not. Because if they're not under control, we will react in a way that is actually not going to be helpful to us individually, like that. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a statement made by, I can't remember exactly which acharya makes the statement, but the whole Bhagavad Gita can be condensed into one sentence, and that sentence is that the purpose of life is to engage in the loving devotional service of Sri Krishna, joyfully, tolerating all kinds of impediments. So it ends with tolerating all kinds of impediments. This is why tolerance is very important. Compassion is very important so that we can reach out to others. Tolerance is very important because that will give us a lot of happiness. If we can tolerate, we'll be very happy. And then, of course, we'll chant. So the third thing, we will chant very attentively, because obviously when you have difficulties, you'll chant better. And of course, you're happy, then Krishna accepts your chanting so very nicely, because he wants to see us happy. And he constructed our soul with Satchidananda. So everything ends with Ananda, becomes the purpose of life. And finally, reading Srila Prabhupada's books and the books of the acharyas like that, scrutinizingly. Scrutinizingly means that you're really paying attention to what is being said. You're actually living the verse as it's being spoken. You're in the verse yourself. You can see yourself in the verse. And the very best way to do that is to write. If you can write, if you can reach out to others and write. But when you're writing, you'll realize that others will read that and see the mistakes that you're making. So you want to make sure you don't make mistakes like that. And to do that, you listen properly, you hear properly, read properly. Then there won't be so much of this making mistakes like that. Anyway, I'm going to move on to Jagadish Pandit, who himself is just a great devotee. And the amazing thing about him was that he was a devotee in two lines, in the line of Lord Nityananda and the line of Lord Gauranga. So on this big tree of devotion, there's some major branches, and there's a major branch of Lord Chaitanya, there's another major branch of Lord Nityananda. He was on both of them. And this is very instructive, that Krishna allows us to have multiple services. And so Jagadish Pandit himself was like that amongst the wives of the Brahmanas who fed Krishna and Balaram when they came asking for some food. When their friends came asking for some food for them, you might remember the Brahmins were performing yagyas, and so they didn't want to be disturbed, and so they declined, and then as a result, the boys went over, the sakhas went over to the wives of the Brahmins, and they very, very gladly gave them nice prasadam. So one of the wives appears in this Leela, in the Leela of Lord Gauranga, as Jagadish Pandit. And simultaneously it is described that Jagadish Pandit is also one of the Nagapatnis, as we know. There's this wonderful story of Kaliya. And for me, that's very important because Kaliya actually is now living in Fiji, and that's the country I come from. So one of his Nagapatnis actually appears as we know, the Nagapatnis offered some very beautiful prayers to Lord Krishna when Lord Krishna had chastised Kaliya. And so Nagapatnis offered such beautiful prayers to Krishna, and Krishna became so happy that he gave Kaliya this great boon of staying in a place where there would be no competition, it'll be a great place to stay in. And so he crossed the 7 seas, is described. The country he came to was Fiji, South Pacific. There's a wonderful, in one of the islands, there's a wonderful mountainous area with this great cave, and inside that cave is a great lake, and in that lake is where Kaliya stays. That's another story that I can tell you about. It's a beautiful story. Srila Prabhupada actually describes it very nicely as well. And but he's also considered one of the dancers at the time of Lord Krishna amongst the gopis. Some of the gopis, the different gopis have sort of specializations in the 64 arts that they practice. And so one of the arts is the art of dancing very nicely. And Chandrahasa, from that pastime as a gopi, actually becomes Jagadish Pandit. So Jagadish Pandit, from a very, very young age, was very devoted to Krishna, very, very devoted to Krishna. And when he married, his wife also was very, very wonderful devotee of Krishna, both of them. Amazing. In fact, it's described in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya that just like Krishna has his father and mother in Vrindavan, Nanda Baba and Yashoda Mai, so in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, it is Mother Sachi and Jagannath Pandit. So just like Mother Sachi and Jagannath Pandit were parents of Lord Gauranga Nimai, same way Jagadish Pandit and his wife were parents of Nimai as well. That's how much Nimai loved them. In fact, at one time, it was Ekadasi, and Nimai, young boy, was telling his parents that today is Ekadasi, and parents were thinking, what? Where did you hear about Ekadasi? How do you know anything about Ekadasi? And all of the wonderful friends and friends who were there, the ladies were very, very amazed that they were like shocked. Wow, what does he know about Ekadasi? And he said, and he was crying, and he was saying that I want to eat at the home of the home of Jagadish Pandit and his wife. They made some very nice prasad, and I want to go there and eat. And of course, Jagadish Pandit and his wife had beautiful deity of Lord Vishnu, and had made some very nice offerings to Lord Vishnu. And of course, those offerings are with grains, and because Ekadasi, we do not take grains, but the parents took Nimai to the house of Jagadish Pandit, and there Jagadish Pandit and his wife very happily allowed Nimai to take the prasadam, to enjoy the prasadam, and fed him so much that he felt overfed. He was just in total bliss. Lord Nimai was in total bliss like that. And at another time, Jagadish Pandit had gone to Jagannath Puri to have darshan of Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, Lady Subhadra. And then when he came back again, he was very despondent. He's feeling separation, he's feeling very despondent that he was missing Lord Jagannath so much. And so Lord Jagannath knew this. And the Lord also, just like we are not happy, the Lord also becomes unhappy seeing us unhappy like that. And so Lord Jagannath felt that he wanted to stay with Nimai Pandit himself, wanted to stay with Jagadish Pandit. And so he told Jagadish Pandit, come to Jagannath Puri and take me to your village, take me to your place. I want to stay with you. And Jagadish Pandit became very happy. At the same time, Lord Jagannath appeared in the heart of the king at the time, King Prataprudra, and told him that when the time comes, at the time of the Rath Yatra, before the Rath Yatra, there's a switching that happens of the old deity with the new deity, that when the time came to switch to the new deity, please give my me to this person. He will come and you give it to him. So when Jagadish Pandit went there, the king was very happy to meet him, knowing that this must be a great devotee of Lord Jagannath. The king himself was an amazing devotee of Lord Jagannath. And so he gave him Lord Jagannath. But as we know, Lord Jagannath is very big. So Jagadish Pandit thought, how am I going to, there are a number of stories about this, by the way. So he thought, how am I going to take you back to my place? You're so heavy. How am I going to carry you? And so Lord Jagannath said, don't worry. He says, I'll become as light as cork. As we know, cork is, we put on a bottle. It's not very heavy. It's very light. So I'll become light as cork and you can take me. So still, one of the stories is described that Jagadish Pandit brought two helpers to help carry Lord Jagannath. And So Lord Jagannath said, okay, in that case, you're going to carry me, then I will go as far as you put me down, but where you put me down, I'm going to stay there. And so they were going, and on the way, when Jagadish Pandit went to take a bath in the Ganga, when he came back, he saw that his the two personalities were carrying the Lord Jagannath had put him down. So he asked him what happened. He said, he became so heavy, we had to put him down. And so Jagadish Pandit realized that this is where Lord Jagannath wanted to be. And then so that became the residence of Jagadish Pandit as well, that he stayed in the same village after that. And that deity of Lord Jagannath is still there in that village. And of course, one time what had happened was that both Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya had come, because Jagadish Pandit is also considered one of the associates of Lord Nityananda. And so both of them had come, Lord Nityananda and Lord Gauranga. And so they were there, and they spent a few days at Jagadish Pandit's house. And everyone was in total bliss. And so when the time came to leave, Jagadish Pandit's wife, Mataji, actually became very unhappy. And so she actually started crying. She was feeling so much separation. She says, how can you leave us? You're my life and soul, like that. So Lord Gauranga became very, very happy with seeing the devotion. And so he left behind a form of him known as Guru Gopal. And so beautiful golden form of Lord Guru Gopal. And so that Guru Gopal is also there in the same temple with Lord Jagannath. And they still worship today. It's a lot of happiness. So Jagadish Pandit, Srila Jagadish Pandit's disappearance is today. And the disappearance festival has a particular mood to it. The disappearance is where we recommit ourselves to the instructions, to the mood and instructions of the personality who has disappeared, and also to the mood and instructions of our own spiritual master, of our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, like that. So today is the day when we actually recommit ourselves to Sankirtan. And Sankirtan simply means that we have to serve others so that they will become Krishna conscious in ways that are according to our own personal nature. For different ones of us, we like to do different things. Some of us are into kirtan, some of us are into prashadam, some into philosophy, some into deity worship. And this is an unlimited number of things devotees are into. And so whatever you feel, or I feel, any one of us feels is our personal calling like that, and we can use that to actually reach out to others so that they will also become Krishna conscious. And all of us can chant, feast, and dance our way back to Godhead. Thank you so very much, Hare Krishna. I spoke much longer than I should have today. Hare Krishna, I'll ask if any of you would like to say something. I'd be very happy to hear. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful and beautiful class, and giving us so many strong points, like what is our intention in Krishna consciousness for pleasing the Krishna. And I specifically love that point, like that our life is like a drama with the different characters in our lives, and those are the specific points. And one more thing, like in the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, whole Bhagavad Gita, you are specifically pointing about the controlling mind and tolerancing. Those points are very strong points, Prabhuji, for me specifically. Thank you so much for your such a beautiful class. I request all the devotees, if anybody have any questions or realizations to Prabhuji, you can please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Ananta Koti Dandavat Pranam to your association, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. So many points today. I learned so many things. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Hari Hari Gauranga. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so
Hi Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Guru Maharaj. Such a wonderful class, Prabhu. All glories to your service. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Prabhuji, I had a question over here. At the very beginning of this verse, it is explained as like Lord Brahma as Bhagavan. And in the earlier chapters also, it is for Narad Muni was mentioned as Bhagavan. So how do we explain that, Prabhuji? Because in the Bhagavad Gita, we have heard that only Lord Krishna is as is addressed as Bhagavan. So how do we explain this part, Prabhuji?
Actually, when a person represents the Supreme Lord himself, then the representative is also considered to be of a similar position. Just like in this case, the spiritual master, he represents Krishna, and therefore is considered to be Krishna on earth. We even say that, Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastri. So when we sing the Mangalacharan every morning, we're singing the Guru Vastika prayers every morning during Mangalarti. This is one of the things that we say, that spiritual master is Sakshat Dharitvena, means that he is the Lord himself come on this planet so that we can actually become Krishna conscious, come to hold our hands and take us back home, back to Godhead like that. So such persons can be considered to be the Lord. These are particular incarnations of the Lord, means that they are they're expansions of the Lord. In the case of Lord Brahma is considered a Shakti Vish avatar of the Lord. Same with Narada Muni. Same with Jesus Christ, Lord Jesus. That's why Srila Prabhupada referred to Jesus as Lord Jesus. He never said Jesus. It was Lord Jesus. And so these personalities, their only purpose is to connect us, reconnect us with Krishna in a way that we will become truly happy. And so therefore they can be also addressed as Bhagavan. Sometimes it is said they are described, addressed in a little different way. Like with Krishna, we'll say he's Bhagavan. With any of the Vishnu Tattvas, we would say Bhagavan. But with those who are in Jiva Tattva, we would say they're Bhagavan. The last A will be a smaller A, like Bhagavan, as opposed to Bhagavan, like that. So that's also described. But actually, you can even call them Bhagavan. There's nothing wrong, because they're representing. They don't see themselves as an important personality representing themselves. They just see themselves as a transparent biomedia. They're representing Krishna, and they're speaking on behalf of Krishna. They're repeating Krishna's words. They're not actually changing what Krishna said in any way. This is something that Srila Prabhupada described about himself. A lot of people would praise Prabhupada and would say, I do not deserve any of the things that you're saying. If I do deserve anything, it is that I did not change anything. I simply repeated what my spiritual master said, who actually repeated what his spiritual master said all the way back to Gauranga Mahaprabhu in our Sampradaya. Of course, Gauranga Mahaprabhu himself followed his spiritual master all the way back to Krishna, like that. So this is the Guru Parampara. This is the only thing that works. Everything else is going to be a waste of time. It's like a dog chasing its tail. It's just going to keep going round and round in circles. But it's when you come to Parampara and then you repeat. Even though we are preaching, so many people have written books, is that if they write the book and they say something that is not what Krishna said, then it actually spoils the whole program. It's a little like offering sweet rice and then throwing some grains of sand in it. That sweet rice is not going to be as relishable anymore. So the same way, these personalities don't do that. They speak, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, many great personalities. They speak exactly what Krishna says and Krishna wants, like that. And so as a result, they can be referred to as Bhagavan because they're directly empowered. It's just like electricity that is there at the beginning of where electricity is generated, which is called the grid, like that. And the electricity that comes to our home at the power point is exactly the same electricity. It's still electricity. It didn't change along the way. It's the same electricity. So it's the same spiritual energy that comes from Krishna that is being delivered by Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, other great personalities like that. Therefore, they can be referred to as full energy, full. They can be referred to as Bhagavan. Means they have the full opulences, because they represent the full opulences. And all the opulences are represented by bhakti. When you do bhakti, all the opulences will be there. I was reading this morning, Srila Prabhupada saying that if you chant Hare Krishna, then material and spiritual opulences will come to you. All material and spiritual opulences will come. And what do? We take the material opulences and use it in Krishna's service. And the spiritual opulences allow us to grow more and more in Krishna consciousness because they remain our eternal asset, like that. So in that sense, they can be referred to Bhagavan. It's actually the very correct thing to do. Hare Krishna. Hopefully that satisfies.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Wonderful explanation. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, I see like Swati
Hare
Mataji
Krishna.
have raised her hand. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Can I go, Mataji, or Swati Mataji will go?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Very, very beautiful class, Prabhuji. I have a question. In the discussion, when you are talking, you told that if somebody is unhappy, even though practicing Krishna consciousness, that means he's not a devotee. Then see, as a practicing devotee like me, still we have that mood swings of unhappiness, happiness, and getting angry, getting distressed. What should I get? How do I get motivated myself that okay, you are still in the process, you will be getting there, you don't have to worry, you should not lose the how do I not lose the enthusiasm in me having these all mood swings when I am having this mood swings? Krishna, Prabhuji.
Very nice question. So basically, there's a very nice thing in Hindi, Antarnishta Bahir Lok Vyahar, that internally we are very fixed up with Krishna. We always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Externally, we are dealing with the material world, so obviously there is going to be misery. The material world is full of dukkha and sashvatam. So there is going to be misery outside. The mind will feel misery, the senses will feel misery, the intelligence will feel misery, the false ego will feel misery, but the soul is not miserable. The soul is happy. The soul is happy once again to connect with Krishna. And so the soul is in bliss like that. So internally we are blissful. Externally we are dealing with situations that we're not happy because the mind is not happy. The soul is happy, but the mind is not happy. The senses are not happy. So the idea is that the most important thing to understand here, to maintain enthusiasm at all times, is to first tell ourselves, repeat to ourselves. This is why the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is very, very important. It's the repetition of the crying for Krishna, crying to Krishna like that, like the baby cries to the mother for attention like that. So, so in this crying for Krishna, Prabhupada says the most important thing to understand is are three words. Are you convinced? Are you convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because if you're convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna himself says, Yomam evam asabudo, janati purushottamam, sarvavid bhajati mam, sarva bhavena bharata. One who knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, comma, without doubting, comma, is the knower of everything. That person will engage in my loving devotional service with all of his or her heart and soul. Okay, this is a very important statement made in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. I think it's text 20. Anyway, so basically, this we have to first become convinced about. Otherwise, if we're thinking, I don't know if Krishna is God, maybe somebody else is God, it might be the dog is God, or you know what I mean? There's just so many things happening in this world. So many people saying this one is God, that one is God. You know, we're all confused which one is actually God. So let's put all of them on the altar because one of them might be God. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. No, we have to be convinced that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, once you're convinced, then you have to be convinced that the Bhagavad Gita are the statements of Krishna himself. Bhagavad Gita is the words of Krishna himself, and Krishna himself says, Kaunteya tu pratijanihi name bhaktaha pranashati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly to the world, not just declare it, boldly to the world. My devotee never fails. So if you're not going to fail, why are you unhappy? You know, if I want to become a billionaire and I'm given a guarantee that I will not fail, I will become a billionaire, or I'll become happy now. Even before I have the $1 billion, I'll be happy. I know full well it's coming. It's just a matter of time, just now coming, like we say, right? That's the pleasure of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is just about to appear. Prabhupada said, I expect to see him behind the door, behind a tree. I'm always expecting, Krishna suddenly show himself at some point. So it's always an expectation that Krishna will show himself. We have to be in that expectation. We're not Srila Prabhupada. We're not pure like Srila Prabhupada. But we must have the same expectation. There's nothing wrong with having a good expectation. There's something wrong in expecting that it's going to happen. But the fact that because we may not be qualified, but the fact is that to expect that it can happen and it may happen despite my qualifications, the lack of qualifications, is actually conviction in Krishna. That means I'm convinced. Krishna can come, right? He's Swarat, he's independent. Even if I don't deserve, Krishna can give me Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness is, it's causeless. It is independent, it is causeless. It is not my devotion that is allowing me to become Krishna conscious. I am Krishna conscious because Krishna is allowing me to be Krishna conscious. Even though I am completely failure in every way I do not deserve, still if Krishna is giving, then I have it. Just like Prabhupada said, at that time millionaires were big, now of course billionaires are big. But if today Prabhupada was speaking, he would say that whether you work hard and earn $1 billion or someone gives you $1 billion, you're still a billionaire, right? Makes no difference. You're still a billionaire. So our point is, and in this verse, of course, it talks about Kripa Siddhi, Most devotees actually are only going to become devotees because that Kripa is going to be, someone's going to have mercy on us. The spiritual master has mercy on us. If we just hold on to the lotus feet of the spiritual master, we will have that mercy. Guaranteed. That's Krishna's promise. Actually, Krishna only brings the spiritual master in front of us when he becomes happy with us. That's how we become Krishna conscious. Guru Krishna Prasad Pai Bhakti Lata Beach, right? So, and only when Krishna becomes happy, he gives a spiritual master. But when you have spiritual master, we have Krishna, and now we have Bhakti Lata. We have the Kripa of devotion growing that will reach the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, of Gaura Nityananda, like that. Krishna Balaram, like that. You get the idea. So this is the way to be enthusiastic. Become completely convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Stay in the association of devotees, because devotees are always going to be enthusiastic. See, go to Mayapur once in 2 years, 3 years. They actually every 2 years, of course, because of the pandemic they didn't have it. But every 2 years they have this ISKCON Leadership Sangha. Go to the Sadhu Sangha program, where devotees are getting together and chanting Hare Krishna. Go to the sanghas, where number of devotees are getting together. Come to Dallas for the for our ISKCON 50. You will see that it's very, very enthusing, extremely enthusing. You get caught up in the wave. And even if you're thinking, man, I'm not a good devotee, and I have doubt about this, I have doubts about that, I'm fearful about this, I'm confused about this, all that will evaporate. And then you will feel like, wow, it's so nice to be a devotee. I'm so happy I'm trying to become a devotee. I'm so happy to be the associate devotee. I'm so happy to have prasadam and do kirtan, chant, feast, and dance back to Godhead. What better process in creation is there than chanting, feasting, and dancing? All these three things are very easy to do. Still, we find it very hard to do. Why? Because we're so fallen. But that is going to be enthusiasm. And then, of course, chanting Hare Krishna nicely, really nice. But most importantly, again, Prabhupada said, Sankirtan, always being Sankirtan. Okay, I am not qualified, but I can talk to somebody about Krishna consciousness by repeating the words of my spiritual master and of Krishna, like that of the acharyas, of the devotees. And as a result, if they become Krishna conscious, I get the credit, right? And the fastest way to get credit is to give a book of Srila Prabhupada to anybody. But if you give that book, whatever devotion that person is going to do after getting that book into the future, and all the other persons that person is going to touch, all that credit is going to come to you because you gave the book. You didn't have to write the book. Much harder to write the book. All you had to do was give it. Hold it in your hand and give it to somebody. How easy is that? Become a book distributor. Prabhupada said book distributors means you're the gopis of the spiritual world or the book distributors of this world. Must become a book distributor. And when I first joined Hare Krishna, I didn't like this idea of book distributor. I didn't want to go on the street and tell people I came from a business family, very wealthy. I can give you tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars for book distribution. But don't ask me to go on the street and distribute a book to anybody. You know? Then when I came to America, my spiritual master gave me a specific instruction because Prabhupada's marathon month, December, this is 1993. And he said to me, I want you to become the biggest book distributor of America. I want you to win the marathon this year. I'm not a book distributor, not distributed books. Suddenly I'm supposed to become now the leader. So, just like I had to do it. I had to work very hard, very, very hard to distribute books that month. Then I got the taste. This book distribution is very nice actually. And there are many ways to distribute books, Srimad Prabhu is so brilliant. He teaches us so many ways, and more people are suggesting ways to him, and he's always compiling these different ways of how you can reach out and give books to people. There's so many ways. There are very easy ways, there are very difficult ways. Choose whichever one you like the most, or do all of them and just be in bliss distributing books. Then you'll be very enthusiastic, right? Automatically. So that's the way. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, such a beautiful, beautiful answer, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So I don't have to worry. Krishna has promised to his devotees, so I will be there. Just need to wait. I have to have that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's going to come and he's going to help me. And that only shelter is to just bow down to him. That's it. Then everything will be get cleared. One day or the other day. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful, beautiful explanation.
World is a notion of misery. So there will be difficulties, but just remember, no matter how difficult it gets, Krishna is more powerful. Krishna is most powerful. So he will somehow or the other bring us out of it. Yeah, we'll go into difficulty, then we'll come out of it. And when we're in the difficulty, we'll chant more, right? We'll cry even more. It's easy to cry when you're in difficulty. You know what I'm saying? So whenever Krishna puts us into difficulty, understand this is Krishna's mercy so that I can cry more for him. And then cry. And Krishna will love it. And then he'll give us a lot of bliss. So it'll work out nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful and enlightening answer. Now I request Swati Mataji, you can please go ahead with your question or realization. Thank you for waiting so patiently.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Kindly accept my humble obeisance, Prabhuji. And I really am grateful to the host of this Bhakti Sangha. They are providing us the opportunity. We can have association of great devotees, and we can just learn from them. So, Prabhuji, my question is from you is like, I don't know my question is right or not, but it is coming in my mind. That's why I want to ask you. Prabhuji, I want to know about the position of women in spirituality. How Prabhupada ji considered women and what he expected from the women. And secondly, after this question, you can also tell me how, as a woman, I can serve to my spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada. How can I elevate myself in spirituality? This is my question. Thank you so much.
India, America. Where do you stay?
Prabhuji, India, Haryana. India.
Great. All right. So the picture you're behind you is really wonderful. It's one of my favorite pictures, actually. The painting you got behind you of the Panchatattva dancing in front of the Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. Yeah. I want you to know it's one of my favorite paintings. So I'm very happy. Actually, I'm wearing it today. Inside this is a vest that has that same picture. So anyway, so as far as women are concerned, the Srila Prabhupada always saw women as the most powerful energy on the planet that can promote Krishna consciousness. He actually spoke so many nice things about his women disciples that, of course, now it's recorded. It's a book that came out about that as well. I forget the title of the book. Somebody on this conference might remember the name of the book. But very wonderful book written by women about how Srila Prabhupada empowered women to actually do Sankirtan. And so Bond of Love, yeah, that's a great one. Also, there's one other one that also talks about something else. It's written by the latest generation of devotees. This is the Gurukulis, I think they've written a book about it as well. Anyway, so basically, the position of women in the Vedas is that they are what is called Janani. Janani. A woman is considered Janani. So basically, a comparison is made that if there's a man and a woman, the woman is considered a generation, the man is considered one person. You see what I'm saying? So obviously, generation is more important than one person, right? So the point is, but with that comes a very heavy responsibility. You know, the greater you are, the more responsibility you have in your life. Okay, that is how it works. So since women are in the very high position, they're given certain responsibilities of being shy, of being reserved. They don't come out in the front. Now, let me give you an example. Who is the greatest devotee in creation? Who is the greatest devotee?
Lord Brahma.
The greatest devotee
Shivji.
Radharani Prabhuji.
Is Radharani. She is the greatest. There's nobody greater than Radharani. Nobody can compare. You know what I mean? In fact, she's so great, she's considered the original Supreme Personality of Godhead herself. This is how great she is, right? So if you notice in the Leelas, whenever a Leela is going on, Radharani is never in the front. She is always in the back. In fact, she only comes out the front when people drag her into the front. Otherwise, she doesn't come out in the front. She is always in the scene. Like, say, for example, you know, okay, a gopi caught Krishna kissing another gopi, right? So then she'll go and complain to Radharani. You know that Krishna was unfaithful, you know, he actually, and then so Radharani hear about it and she'll become very unhappy. Then, wow, you know, this Krishna is a rascal, you know what I mean? He says he loves me exclusively, he loves me the most, but then he goes and does things like this, you know what I mean? Such a rascal, you know what I mean? And then the gopis get angry because they feel like, wow, we have to punish Krishna. So, you know, then they go and tell Krishna, we caught you, we saw you doing that, you're such a bad person. And so they'll start a court case. Okay, but now there'll be a court case. And Krishna will say, no, I never did it. I never kissed anybody. You know, I love Radharani the most. She is my only girlfriend. You know, this, that, you know. And so they'll have a court case, right? So in the court case, the boy's side will defend Krishna, the girl's side will prosecute Krishna. You know, and then they give all nice arguments about why Krishna did it, and the boy's side give very nice arguments why Krishna never did it. You know, and so the judge becomes like, what am I supposed to do here? The arguments are so powerful on both sides, you know. So then they'll finally call Radharani, and then she will come and she will resolve the case. You see what I'm saying? So this is Radharani, right? So women, because of their great responsibility, actually carry this responsibility with them, that they have this reserved nature in them. They're the most powerful. There's a saying even in the Western world, behind every powerful man, there is a woman or another, or another, or another, like that. They'll just keep saying, you see what I'm saying? So they are the power, they're the energy. So what is the value of energy? The value of energy is that energetic cannot do anything without the energy, right? There's no value to energetic if there's no energy there. You see what I'm saying? So in that sense, Prabhupada always understood this point very clearly. He didn't agree with the Western point of view that men and women are equal. He did not agree with this point of view because they're not equal. You know, you can't say an apple and an orange are equal. They're not equal. Yeah, they're both fruit, but they're not equal. You know, the purpose of the orange is different. The purpose of the apple is a little different. One is sweet, the other one is sour. You see what I'm saying? Of course, oranges can be sweet as well, but not as sweet as apples are. You see what I'm saying? So they serve little different purposes. So in that sense, Srila Prabhupada always saw women in a very, very important light. he always saw them as spiritual, as gopis. And gopis are spiritual masters of Krishna. You see what I'm saying? So, of course, we also say we should see every woman as a mother. You see what I mean? Because men in this world are so fallen that they're always thinking sex. You see what I'm saying? And therefore, and you shouldn't think like that when you see a woman. You see what I'm saying? So they say, see as mothers, mother generally people don't feel like, sex like that. You see what I'm saying? But the point is, the real fact is that the women are actually gopis. They are the Lord's most beloveds. The Lord loves the women the most. You can see in the spiritual world, the gopis are the highest position. This is eternally the situation. You see what I'm saying? Okay, in this world, women were cursed because of this huge leela that happened where Lord Brahma committed a great sin and then had to be forgiven for that great sin. And so he asked the women to carry 1/4 of the reactions. He said, he asked 4 personalities to carry the reaction. The women are one of them. So since then, women have had some difficulties in this world. But we can never see things in that light. We have to see it in the light of Scripture. According to Scripture, women's position is an extremely exalted. It's a position of Janani. Now, if you look up Janani in Sanskrit, look it up even in Hindi, you will see its meaning. Its meaning is that she is the leader of the family. She is the matriarch of the family. It's from her that future generations will also come. You see what I'm saying? So she's generational. Man is one. His purpose is to go out, earn some money, and support the family. But the boss of the family is always the woman. But she never acts like the boss. She always acts like the most important servant of that family. And by the way, that is our philosophy. The spiritual master is the personality of servitor Godhead. He is not the personality of Godhead. He is the personality of servitor Godhead. Myself, like a temple president, the temple president is a servant of all servants. You see what I'm saying? So he's not the master of the servants, he is the servant of the servants. You see that position now? So this is where the women come in, that's their position. Because they're leaders, they lead by example. And the example they show is very good qualities. They have such wonderful qualities of tolerance, of shyness, of intelligence. Krishna even says in Bhagavad Gita, I am intelligence amongst women. In terms of his opulences, he describes intelligence as intelligence amongst women. Prabhupada said, women are very smart. If a woman decides that she wants to do something, no man can stop her. This type of things Prabhupada has said. So women's position is very exalted. Now, there's no way you can be stopped. Say, for example, this is why I asked where you live, because sometimes in some countries, they don't allow women to go on the altar to serve the deities. Okay? They don't allow them to act as temple presidents or Brahmins and things like that. I mean, some countries they do, some countries they don't. You see what I'm saying? But whichever country you live in, there is no end to amount of service that you can do. You can have a deity in your own home. You can serve the deities and become a great deity worshipper in your own home. You can actually preach Krishna consciousness. Nowadays, we have internet. You can go on any methodology that's out there to reach out to people and preach. You can always make sure your own family is Krishna conscious. There's so many things women can do. There's unlimited number of scope. And women will be very successful because they have the power of austerity. Women are more austere generally than men. You see what I'm saying? Because they are forced into more austerity. Just like Brahma was forced into austerity. Only because he was forced into austerity, he became the creator of the whole world. Who's more powerful than Brahma? Nobody. In the material world, there's nobody more powerful. Because you might say Vishnu is more powerful like that, but they're not Jiva Tattva. The only Jiva Tattva is Brahma. Lord Shiva is Shiva Tattva, and Lord Vishnu is Vishnu Tattva. They're not Jiva Tattva. Jiva Tattva is Brahma. Amongst the Jiva Tattva, the most powerful is Brahma, Lord Brahma. And how did he get into that most powerful position? By austerity. And so women have this austerity automatically thrust upon them. So now they can take the power of this austerity and make people Krishna conscious and be very blissful, be totally blissful. I had a god sister in Fiji. She would do these types of things. And she was so blissful, she would chant 108 rounds every day. Every day, 108 rounds. If you look at her face, it's pure bliss. Very fair looking lady, very blissful, She was over 80 years of age, and she was totally blissful. Her name was Gauri Mata. And till today, that impression is in our heart of how blissful this lady was. She was a preacher, she loved deity worship, and very, very shy, very reserved person, but completely Krishna conscious, blissfully Krishna conscious. This is the example. Now, all of us are not going to be like that. Some of us are going to be bold preachers. We're going to go out in the public and speak and things like that. By all means, do whatever you want to do according to your nature, but fixed in this Krishna consciousness. Like that. What was the second part of the question? That was first part, Prabhupada. Or what women can do was the second part, right? What can you do? So there is nothing you cannot do. Give me an example. What can you do? Book distribution? Yes. Can you start a school and run a school? Yes. Can you do deity worship? Yes. Can you actually? Can you become a?
There are always some limitations, restrictions.
No, there are no limitations. The limitation is the
like I want to go for book distribution.
So what's the limitation? You can go and distribute to women in other homes, right? No one's going to stop you from distributing to women books. Why would they stop you? And even if they stop you, like say for example, your husband feels like, no, I don't want you to go outside the house. I want you to stay inside the house. Then just go on the computer and distribute your books through the computer. It's easy. A lot of us are distributing books now through the computer. We tell other people, and then they buy the book, and we can tell some devotee to deliver the book to them, or they can go to the temple and pick up the book themselves. But you distributed the book. That's how you went. That's how they went to the temple to get the book. And now remember, every person who does that because you asked them to do it, all the credit they're going to have in all their lives in the future, including anyone that they touched and their credit, will all come to you. How smart is that, right? There is no restriction. Nothing. Remember, the first instruction Srila Prabhupada got, the very first instruction he got, was from his spiritual master the very first time he met him. What was the instruction? Nothing stops Krishna consciousness. Nothing can stop Krishna consciousness. Everything else can be stopped, but Krishna consciousness cannot be stopped. Why? Because you have to stop Krishna to stop Krishna consciousness, and no one can stop Krishna. And Krishna can do everything. Look at the example of Jagdish Pandit. He was a Natpatni. He was a dancer. He was one of the wives of the Brahmanas, right? And he was also an eternal associate of Lord Balaram, Lord Nityananda. Okay? Now here are 4 different roles. One person playing 4 different roles. So Krishna allows us to do things like that. You can be multiple role person because Krishna allowed you to do that. You see what I'm saying? So where's the limitation here? The only limitation is I don't love Krishna. That's my limitation. That's my problem. Other than that, I have no problems. You can put me in jail. You can tie me up like Lord Jesus. They put a crown on his head to bleed, make him bleed, right? They're putting spear through his heart, this, that, and the other. Carry a heavy cross on his back, this, that, and the other. Did it stop him? No. Why? Because he was Krishna conscious. He had been to Jagannath Puri. He met Lord Jagannath. He was a devotee of Lord Jagannath. Can't stop a devotee, right? Can't stop Krishna. You can't stop Krishna's devotee either. So let's become devotees. Let's become nice disciples and devotees. Nothing can stop us. By the way, did you know that mental service is higher than physical service? Can you please distribute the books mentally? Can you please do deity worship mentally? Can you please do those things mentally? If you do it mentally, it's higher than physical because the mind is greater than the senses. The mind is the chief queen. The other senses is the chief wife. The senses are the co-wives, but the mind is the chief co-wife. She's the boss amongst all the wives. You see what I'm saying? So do it mentally. What can stop you from going to the spiritual world right now and being with Krishna and being with Lord Balaram, Radharani, Lord Nityananda, Lord Gauranga, and doing things down there for their service, serving those devotees who are serving them, because that's the fastest way to serve, through other devotees. You see what I'm saying? We are Gopir Bhardu Pada Kamalera, Dasa Dasa Madasa. We are the servant of the servant of the servant. There is no restriction for anybody. If you got a little bit of a brain, You can do any amount of service, anytime, from anywhere, in any condition. You see what I'm saying? Don't feel discouraged. You have a very good reason to be very happy. Now you've come to Krishna consciousness. Now it's pure bliss. It's Kevala, Ananda, Khanda. Pure bliss. Okay? Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for enlightening me. But Prabhuji, this thing discouraged me when Prabhupada says that women should be under the protection of men. It is in the form of husband, father, or son. So if I consider myself, actually, I am separated from my husband. So how do, sometimes I feel low self-esteem means I am not following Srila Prabhupada's words. So that's why I was discouraged.
You're the daughter of Lord Gauranga, the daughter of Lord Nityananda, the daughter of Lord Krishna, the daughter of, so you're under the protection. You're the protection of the spiritual master. Have you taken initiation by now? Have you taken initiation, Mataji? Are you initiated?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm going to, I'll take, it will be done within 1-2 months.
So who is your spiritual master?
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj.
You have his protection. He's
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj.
your father. So why are you saying you're not under protection? You're fully protected. You're the best father in the world. What are you worried about? You're the best father. You see what I'm saying? You're fully protected. You are actually already what Srila Prabhupada wanted you to do. And Prabhupada is your grandfather, by the way. He's protecting you directly. And behind you, all these people are your great grandfathers, right? They're the first grandfathers who started everything. So we can see all of these people are also protecting you. So we're always protected. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, do you have more time to take any further questions?
I'll sit here as long as I have to. Not I have to, I'd be happy to sit here, let's put it this way. My service is to encourage people to become more Krishna conscious. And by serving them like that, I also become more Krishna conscious. So, that's the way it is. It's like the bank teller, right? The more cash she handles, the more cash I might end up getting myself, right?
Yeah. So I request devotees, if anybody have any further questions, you can please go ahead and ask for Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I don't have a question. I really just have an appreciation. I really appreciate the point that you made that when we go through difficulties with others, when they hurt our feelings or say something, that we don't like, that it is a test basically for our mind and senses to see how controlled they are. So I really appreciate that, putting it in that perspective. It just gives me a little more strength. So thank you.
Thank you for saying what you said about me, although I think you said much more than what I really am. But point, I want to appreciate the fact that you said anything that glorifies any devotee, because if we glorify devotees, then what happens is that those devotees become our best friends, because they realize that the only reason you're glorifying that devotee is because you're trying to glorify Krishna, because Krishna is glorified through his representatives, right? Because we don't see Krishna right now face to face, but we do see the devotee face to face. And so then the devotee is representing Krishna. So the glorification is of my spiritual master and his spiritual master, and all the way back to Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna. That's actual fact. But one of the things I wanted to say about this, about when we feel discouraged, right? I want you to know two things. One is, I want you to know 4 or 5 things. One is that when a devotee insults you, when a devotee does anything against you, that devotee all the credit of that devotee comes to your bank account. It's like if I say to you right now, allow me to insult you for half an hour, then you will see the benefit. And you say, okay, go right ahead, you insult me. And I say things to you and you think, you wish the ground would open up and would swallow you because I'm saying so nasty things about you. At the end of the half an hour, you get a call from your bank manager and say, somebody just deposited $1 billion in your account. And you say, it must be a mistake. I don't know anybody who's a billionaire. I don't know anybody. Obviously, it's a bank error. Somebody, no, we checked it out. It's your money. Please, it's your money. I want you to know that you're $1 billion. You can do whatever you like with it. Now, how happy? And then you'll remember I said to you, After half an hour, you watch what happens, right? After you let me insult you for. Because I had billions of dollars, they got transferred to your bank account. And I lost them. You see what I'm saying? So when some devotee criticizes another devotee, hurts another devotee, they lose their balance, the other one gets the balance. So I tell people, please criticize me. Please insult me. I would be very happy if you insulted me. If you insult me, then I will get more credits. If you praise me, then my credits will go to you. That's a little hard, right? I work very hard for my credits. And now you got it all free of charge just by saying a few things. I mean, that's one thing I want you to know. The second thing is that the person who is really doing it to you is not that person, it's Krishna. Now, why would Krishna insult you? Why would Krishna try to harm you? In a sense, he's not harming you, he's not insulting you. He's simply trying to tell you, get out of that material world. You're suffering there. I will make it so hard for you to stay there that you'll think, I better get out of here. Otherwise, you'll think, oh, it's fine. Material world is okay. I'm still having nice prasadam. I got nice this, nice that. And you'll stay in the material world. And Krishna doesn't want you in the material world. He wants you back home, back to Godhead in Golok Vrindavan. You see what I mean? That's who's really doing it. Remember that. So when that happens, try to know that Krishna is paying attention to you. That means Krishna is paying attention. Huh? If Krishna is not paying attention, what's the problem? You see what I'm saying? Another thing is that by your example, you'll be able to teach others now. Whenever you have difficulty, don't worry. This is what's happening to you because you experienced it yourself. So this is a boot camp. This is military training. We are at war with Maya. Maya is a very powerful adversary. She's going to destroy us unless we get properly trained. So Krishna is training us through these difficulties and greatness and happiness and everything. He's training us in every different way. Get fully trained. 360-degree training means you're fully trained now. You see what I'm saying? Like that. Then another thing is that Krishna is trying to set an example. Why is setting an example? He wants to show. He says this in Canto 10, chapter 88, text 8. He says, I give difficulties to my devotees for two reasons. One is to separate the non-devotees from my devotees. Because when you have problems, people will run away from you, right? Fair weather friends will all run away from you. They don't want to have personal problems. So those materialists ran away from you, which is good. When you want to grow a tree, in the beginning you put a nice barrier around it so nothing can affect the tree. It can grow nicely, right? So Krishna is protecting you. And the second is, he says, I want to prove to the world, no matter how much trouble I give my devotee loves me. My devotee still loves me. My devotee never gives up on me. My devotee never gives up on me. That's real love, right? Mothers and children have the same thing. When a child, no matter how much difficulty child goes through, mother will never give up on that child. Mother will completely love that child. That's real love, Prabhupada said. That's the example of real love in this world, is the child love that the mother has for the child. So similarly, the devotee never gives up on Krishna, no matter how bad it gets. We will give up on anything and everything, but we will not give up on Krishna and our Krishna consciousness. That, this time, we're not giving up. All our previous lives, we gave it up. That's why we're still hanging on in this material world. But let's decide in this life, no more. We're going to be Krishna conscious and we're going to love Krishna, no matter how bad it gets. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to hang in there by the skin of our teeth, they say. There's not much skin on the tooth, you know what I mean? Not much skin on the tooth. So, but that skin is said, in technical terms, you'll find out that the skin on the tooth is the toughest part of the body. The enamel that you have on the tooth is the toughest part of your whole body. Prabhupada said, hang in by the skin of your teeth. Stay here, don't leave. No matter what happens, don't leave the association of devotees. Don't leave this ISKCON, no matter how bad it gets. So in that sense, this is, something about insults and being difficult, going through difficulties in our lives. The more difficulty you go in your life means the greater devotee you will be. Prabhupada went through so many difficulties. This is why when you give Prabhupada somebody Lilamrita, Prabhupada's book, that one black cover, soft cover book about Srila Prabhupada, you give that book, anybody will become a devotee. When they read that, they'll think, wow, what a great person. How great. Because he went through so many difficulties. He went through so many difficulties. Lord Jesus went through so many difficulties. Today's worship, thousands of years later, is still worship. Why? Because he went through so many difficulties. Nobody remembers the people who enjoyed it. Everybody remembers the people who suffered. especially those who suffered and came out with suffering happy, not unhappy, happy. Lord Jesus, after the spear was put through his heart and he died, he woke up from the grave and came out. That's how happy he was. You couldn't even kill him. He was so happy. That is devotee. That's the example we have to follow. You see what I'm saying? So we are the best Christians. We are the best Muslims. We are the best Jews. We are also the best atheists. Because atheists, they're into morality. But we have the best morals. So we are the best everything. That's devotee. And we have to live to that standard, you know. Stay in the association devotees. Associate devotees will encourage us like this. And we will stay somehow or the other. And we'll be happy. We'll be bright-faced, happy hares, like they say. We're the happy hares. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the wonderful answer. And yes, that introduction was very, you were worthy of that introduction because you clearly touched so many devotees' lives through your service.
I try to do that. And, you know, I especially like to work with people who are not devotees. I prefer to work more with not devotees than devotees. Because devotees are already there, you know, they're my gurus now. But the ones who are not, I'm actually writing a book about that. I hope to have that book out on May 14th, which is Akshay Tritiya this year. So that, you know, it encourages the non-devotees and to take up devotion, you know. And I think it also teaches the methodology, how devotees can also follow procedure properly and get fully trained up to become very strong devotees. You know, it has simultaneously that in it as well. Because I'm trying to train those who are not devotees to become really powerful devotees, you know, how to do that. And the reason I'm trying to train them is Prabhupada said the best doctor is one who trains other doctors. So if you want to become the best devotee, train others to become devotees. You're automatically going to become a nice devotee yourself. Because these devotees, nobody is a poor devotee or a weak devotee. Every devotee is most powerful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
At this point, I also want to say thank you to everybody who is in the classes. Thank you for blessing me, allowing me to speak. Because I'm actually preaching to myself here more than anybody else. I'm always preaching to myself because my mind, my intelligence, my false ego especially, these guys are big troublemakers, you know. And I want them to know they have to become devotees. The soul is automatically devotee, but it's the mind, the senses, and the intelligence and the false ego. These guys, they don't want to become devotees. So I'm preaching to them actually. While I'm speaking to anybody, I'm preaching to them. So that's why I'm very enthusiastic about it, because I want my mind to become a devotee. I want my false ego to convert to the real ego, to a secure ego, from insecurity to security, you know, like that. So this is why I'm very enthusiastic about it. I'm very selfish in that way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I wonder if you wouldn't mind repeating the point you were making about, I was having audio problem. And so would you mind repeating that point you were making about the fact that we can distribute books even mentally?
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes. See, what happens in this world is that what we do happens in 4 stages. First, you think about something, then you about it, then you will will it, and then it will happen. Okay? So these are the 4 stages. So, yoga, Krishna gives this dispensation that even if you think about something, I will accept it as Krishna consciousness. Now, obviously, we think, well, that's lazy, you know, I'm just thinking, therefore I became. No, so Krishna follows it up by proving that since the mind is superior to the senses, something superior is going to do more service than something subordinate, correct? Like, say, for example, the king of a planet can obviously give more money than the citizens of the planet. He said, who is the king? He has all the money, actually, at his disposal, like that. So the mind is the king or the queen of the senses. So if we start thinking, oh, I want to distribute books, and I'm distributing books like this, like that, like this, like that, it'll actually happen. You'll find those things will actually happen. And say you die before they actually happen, some of those things actually happen, Krishna already accepted it, that you did that service, so you'll get all the benefit anyway. So it's very important for us to always think of Krishna. They say, right? Always remember Krishna. So how can you remember Krishna? You can remember Krishna by doing things, but also by thinking, by memory, by mental process, by intellectual process, by conscious process. You can actually think of Krishna, remember Krishna. And that's the greatest thing to do, right? To always think of Krishna. Never forget Krishna. That is what Krishna consciousness really means. Those are the only two rules of Krishna consciousness. Always remember Krishna. So the mind is the strongest. And by the way, the mind is so strong, it's described that nothing can defeat the mind. That's how powerful the mind is. So if that mind decides to distribute books, that's the most powerful thing, distributing the books, right? So obviously the books are going to be distributed nicely now. Some great things are going to happen. By the way, there's a secret to this. When you distribute books, the people that you distributed the books to will also get the benefit. How do you like that? That is like another. I can distribute a book, say, the Queen of England, right? Then actually the book gets distributed. You know, in the next life, that queen is also going to become a devotee. Why? Because the book got distributed to her. Why? Because Guru Krishna Prasad Paya Bhakti Lata Beach. No, I am not Guru. Actually, anybody who thinks they're Guru are not Guru, but it's Lord Chaitanya's number one instruction. Amara Gyang Guru Hana Tara Idesh. Yarita Katarika Krishna Pradesh. Prithivityaya Chaitanya Gram. Savat Prachar Goinde Morana. These are Prabhupada's, Lord Chaitanya's most powerful, not instructions, orders. Agyaya doesn't mean instruction, it means order. It is my order. All of you, man, woman, child, dog, cat, everyone must become Guru. Margya Guru Anatara Idesh. You can just hear that. Please become Guru. What does it mean to become Guru? To become Guru means to be pregnant with Krishna consciousness and to deliver the baby of Krishna consciousness. How do you deliver the baby of Krishna consciousness? There are so many ways to do that. And this is one very powerful method that devotees don't use all the time. Now, that doesn't mean I sit down and think about it all the time. Whatever I can do, I will do. But whatever I cannot do, I will do it in my mind. One thing that we cannot do is, we cannot be in Goloka Vrindavan right now, right? In physical, actually we can, but we're not that powerful. But the point is, you can't be, so now you can think about it, right? Oh, there's Vrindavan. Oh, there's Krishna sitting on a swing with Radharani. Oh, there are these wonderful gopis who are around them that are singing some nice songs and are cheering them on. And the two of them are so happy swinging on the swing. And there's so many nice decorations on that swing. Wow, Krishna's lotus feet look so nice. And when he comes up, I can see some signs underneath that feet. Oh, Radharani's feet are not showing. Oh, but now the side just got a little up a little. And I couldn't see her fingernails. Wow. Okay, this is meditation. Krishna accepts. You're doing that while you're doing it. How powerful is that? Where do you find a system of religion that teaches these types of things? This is why there's nothing more powerful, nothing that can compare to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Krishna consciousness. So,
again,
we stumbled into this process, you know. Right?
You said that there were 4 stages of, I guess, action. There was like the thinking first. No, the end product is the physical action, and then there's 2 in between, I guess.
Feeling, like you're feeling happy, you're feeling unhappy, feelings.
Mm-hmm.
When you think something, feelings will come. You see what I'm saying? And when the feelings come, the willing will come. Because the emotions drive everything. There are 32 right? The nectar of devotion. You'll see there 32 major emotions that drive everything in creation. Okay, and so these are emotions. Emotion is the most powerful thing in creation. Whenever somebody buys something, it's because of emotion. Emotion sells, emotion buys, emotion does everything. So emotion means feelings, right? You have feelings. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. 33 major emotions like that. And each of them have a million feelings to it. That's why there are 33 million demigods and demigoddesses. Each of them with one feeling, overcoming, in charge of that feeling. That feeling will bring great results. Now the feeling brings about willing. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
Something will happen. It will happen. That's why it's called will. It's not might. It's not coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's will. Willa. It will happen.
Well, if Krishna wants,
Krishna wants or doesn't want, Krishna may not want, and you might do it anyway. If he doesn't, Krishna wants, and you do it, and it pleases Krishna, that's great. But if it doesn't please Krishna, that's not going to be very good. But you're true that it's true that Krishna's will has to be there, but he may not want it. Will and want are two different things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's true, but no, may not be. If you do something and it surprises Krishna, I mean that's going to be even better, right?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, it is if Krishna wills, but that's natural. Krishna willing, he wants you to do it. You're already his devotee, he wants you to do it. He wants you to be the best. He wants you to be greater than him. Krishna says there are 4 relationships he has with us, right? About Gita. One of them is that he is our beloved, Suridam Sarvabhutana, right? The other is that we are his children. What does it say? He says, Aham Bij Pradapitaha. I'm the seed-giving father for you. So he's our father, original father. Just like any parent, any good parent would want their child to do greater than they did in their lives. Like I have some children, I want them to do greater than I did in my life. That's a good parent. That's how good parents think. See? Krishna is also a good parent. He wants you to be greater than him. Now you might think, well, that's not possible. He's the original Supreme Personality. I can't even be equal to him. I can't even be 1% fraction of him. Yeah, that's true, but that's what he wants. Just like if you were the daughter of Bill Gates, did you know that Bill Gates is a daughter? He wants his daughter to do better than him, but he did so great, his daughter may not end up doing greater than him, right? But that still doesn't stop Bill Gates from wanting that his daughter will do greater than him. So Krishna does want us to enjoy even more than him. He does have people who enjoy more than him. Did you know that? Radharani is a good example. There are other good examples too. They enjoy it more than him. That's why he tries to become a devotee. Because he wants to see what are they enjoying so much more than I enjoy. This is Krishna. Krishna is the greatest. He's the most secure. He's so secure, he can give you everything he has. Happily. Very happily. So our thing is, let's not wait for Krishna's mercy and will and everything else. Just know that Krishna already loves us the most. Now let's just compete with him. Take him. I'm going to love you more than you love me. I'm going to defeat you, this love. And sooner or later, you will. You will do things like that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I'm getting late, so but if it's getting late, I can ask it next time, no problem.
No, please, you can ask.
Okay. Prabhuji, thank you so much for beautiful class and beautiful question answer session. Got to know many things. So Prabhuji, the point you said that serving mentally is more powerful than physically. So I'm not initiated yet, but I have the strong desire of serving my Guru Maharaj always, but I don't get the opportunity. So can I serve him always mentally? And also I have a desire of serving deities, but I'm not second initiated. So can I serve them mentally?
Yes.
Whoever. And
Sorry.
so, and also can we say that then doing services mentally is the answer to fulfill all our desires?
Yes. Now I'll tell you how to do it, okay? Because this is very important. See, just because we're doing mentally doesn't mean that we feel like, okay, it's all done. Now I have to know what you want, nothing. No, we want to make it happen. We're only doing it mentally because right now, physically, we're not able to do it, right? Therefore, we're doing it mentally. But when you're doing it mentally, please write down what you did mentally. Please write it down.
Oh, okay.
Or put it on your computer. Somewhere we can write it and you can keep an archive copy. Because I want to say something to you. At some point in the future, Now remember, we are eternal beings. We are not temporary beings, okay? Our life is not just like today. It's also tomorrow, the day after, it's all our life, right? So the point is, you will see that whatever you wrote down came back to you multiplied. Not just what you did, multiplied. So imagine, because people in this world understand money very fast. You see what I'm saying? So imagine you did $1,000 worth of service. You'll find that you're able to do $1 million worth of service now in person. It will come back multiplied. So write it down. Please write it down.
Okay.
So I down. It's there now in front of you. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
It's not just in the mind. It's now something with your hand also. So whatever service you're doing, write it down. If you're doing mental service, write it down. Physical service, you already saw it, but mental service, write it down.
So it's I have to write it down step by step, or like I saw or just write it down like.
However you write down, you're a writer, so you write down however you want to write.
Okay.
Step by step. You can just say, today I did deity worship, and these were the deities, and this is what I did to them, and this is how I addressed them, and this, that, the other. Write it down. I went out and I distributed books, and the Queen of England came, and I gave her a book too, and she was very happy, and she said, God is great. Write it down.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So nice. Yeah.
Keep it, because I want you to prove it. I will lose all my Krishna consciousness, and I'll never lose it. I'm never going to lose it. I shouldn't have said that. But I'd be happy to wager anything I have that it will come back to you multiplied. Multiplied. Not just equal, multiplied. It's the fastest way. Our life is exciting. Every moment is exciting. When I can do, I do. When I cannot do, I write what I'm doing.
Wow. So beautiful. Thank you, Prabhuji.
20 books worth of things written down already. I can today publish 20 books if I want to. All of them people will read and feel like, whoa, this is great, this is great. The reason I'm not doing it because I don't want anybody to glorify me. I want them to glorify Krishna. But at some point, I will write the books down. If I don't write it down, it's okay. Somebody else will write the books down because I've already written it down, so somebody else will write it. It doesn't matter who writes the book. The more important thing is Krishna got glorified. That's kirtan. Kirtiyate iti kirtanam. Kirtanam means to glorify. To love means to glorify. And to love means to glorify Krishna. So these are all Krishna conscious statements. So now we're so happy. We come to know these things. We're very focused. We're very happy. We're always doing things. Nothing can stop. What more we want? We're looking forward to dying. Always looking forward to dying. Because then, done with this stupid material world, back to Vrindavan, or wherever Krishna is performing pastime, and there we get fully trained up and go back to Golok Vrindavan. How it happens? Up to Krishna. Even if he sends me to hell, it's okay. It's still Golok Vrindavan for me. Because I'm doing Krishna's service. If I'm doing Krishna's service, I'm in Golok Vrindavan. Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness means that one always stays with Krishna on that spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan, and that one is simply waiting to give up this material body. That's what Krishna consciousness means. So we're always in Golok Vrindavan. That's how we have to think. I'm in Golok Vrindavan. Right now I'm talking to you. I'm doing some service to Krishna, and it's coming in the form of this talking. That's all. Here it's talking, but there it's something else. There I'm, picking some flowers because Radharani has asked that you please work with this disciple of Brinda Devi, and she's going to tell you what to do, and then it's going to all happen. And then the flower ultimately will get to Radharani, and then she'll offer it to Krishna, and Krishna will become the happiest person in the world. My girlfriend gave me a beautiful yellow rose. Amazing how it happens. I'm nobody, but I'm able to get a yellow rose to Krishna by this method of Gopir Bhartu Padakamalaya, Dasa Dasa Dasa. Serve the servants. The most powerful thing in this world that we can do is to serve the devotees and the other servants who are not devotees yet. Everyone is servant, right? Jivera Surupoe, Nityara Krishna Das. That's the fourth relationship that's right there. So serve others to Krishna. But only purpose is to please Krishna. Of course, everybody will become happy. If Krishna becomes happy, everybody becomes happy. What is called suprasidhati. This word is used. Suprasidhati means, prasiddha means to become very satisfied. Suprasidha means completely satisfied. So everybody will become completely satisfied if Krishna is blissed out. You bliss Krishna out, everybody becomes fully satisfied. Now, it's first class. Everything's first class.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Many different aspects got added to my list today. Thank you so much. Thank you for answering so many beautiful questions so patiently and giving your time, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
By the way, the more of us who write, the more this world will become Krishna conscious. Everybody must write. Prabhupada wanted everybody to write. He said, purports will be written to my purports. Not that we are smart or anything like that, but if we write down our realizations, future generations will see. These were the first devotees in Krishna consciousness. We still haven't gone past our first 100 years. This is going to go for more than 10,000 years. So the first 100 years, whoever's been around are all pioneer devotees. These are all the first devotees of the movement. We're the first generation here. You know, really, not the second and third generation. We are the first generation, you know, it's still happening. The disciples of Prabhupada are still here. So my point is, whatever we write down, others will see in the future and they'll say, wow, those people 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, this is what they said about their Krishna consciousness. And obviously there's strong points and weak points and everything else, but that's just being a normal person, right? Normal person is, you know, some things are going right, some things are not going right. But we all love Krishna and we're trying to be Krishna conscious. That was the most important thing we did. They'll see that, they'll think, wow, these devotees were so great, you know, and they'll become encouraged to be more Krishna conscious. And that is our purpose. Sankirtan is the lifeblood of a devotee. Prabhupada said, a preacher will have happiness. Preaching will give you happiness. Nothing else will give you happiness. You must preach. Preaching is happiness, Prabhupada would say. Preaching is happiness. We must reach out to others. Therefore, write. At some point, publish, because we are family business. Publishing is family business. You must write and publish books. And whatever books are published, distribute them. The whole world will become Krishna conscious. I have no concerns, no doubts about it. This world will be, everyone will be wearing tilak, everybody will be chanting Hare Krishna, and all of us will be joining hands and chanting Jai Satchidananda Gaura Hari. No doubt about it. And this big pandemic that's happening is only a cleaning process. We're cleansing all the past sins, so many sins, cleansing process going on. And never has there been a better time to preach than now. Everybody is looking for questions. People are confused, they have doubts, they have fears. And Krishna consciousness can take all of that away in one moment. So thank you all for becoming nice devotees who are the saviors of this world. Please, Prabhupada said that history will show that the ISKCON movement saved the world in its darkest hour.
Thank you so much once again, Prabhuji, for such an enlightening class today. If nobody have any further questions, we can end the call here. Okay. So we are so grateful to you, Prabhuji, and the class was such a wonderful and so information and question answer session was such a wonderful. We look forward for your association again in future. Let's pay our obeisances to Prabhuji. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Grantat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Nityanand Prabhuji ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Dandavad Pranam.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Dandavad Pranam.
Prabhuji. Haribol.
Haribol.